Moving is a momentous, life-changing event for most people. It can signal the end of one chapter of a life and the beginning of another. But moving can be absolutely stressful. I think that if you ask most homeowners their thoughts on moving, usually it's met with, ugh, I hate moving. At least I know that's my opinion. Now, in some markets, homes sell super fast. So the stress of getting your house sold is kind of taken off the table because the homes sell so quickly. But as we're seeing the market shift more towards maybe a buyer's market than the seller's market we've seen for a few years, we're finding more and more homes sitting on the market, which is causing even more stress for potential home sellers. Hey, I'm Brian. I'm a realtor here in the Indianapolis area. If you're looking to buy or sell anywhere around Indy, I'm your guy. Just drop me a comment and go down in the show notes. You can see my contact information down there to set up an appointment or a phone call. Now, whether your home sells quickly or whether your home sits on the market for a while doesn't make the actual event of moving any less stressful. Now, obviously, if you are in a negotiation with a buyer, the stress on the selling of your house can be, well, somewhat overwhelming. And honestly, that is one of the factors that a lot of potential home sellers think about when they talk about the stress of moving is the negotiation part. But then there's the actual packing up your crap, putting it into a truck and moving it, whether it's across town or across state lines, heck, maybe even across country or to another country. Clever Real Estate recently did a survey of 1,000 homeowners and found that a whopping 88% of these homeowners have a stress about selling their house. As a realtor, it's a bit disturbing to know that 22% of those who were surveyed said they have no intention of selling their home in the next 5 years. And of those that said they weren't planning to move, 91% of those people say that there are certain things that are holding them back from wanting or even considering selling their house. That's what we're going to focus on today. Now, among the most popular reasons people are talking about not wanting to sell their house has to do with mortgage rates and whether or not they're going to be able to find a new home to purchase. Obviously, the pandemic brought mortgage rates way down. We saw many people get into a mortgage rate or refinance into a mortgage rate that is under 4%. And so they're locked into that. Right now, with mortgage rates hovering in the upper 6% or sometimes even as high as 7% range, people who own a home now aren't quick or interested in giving up their ultra low mortgage rate for something that is maybe even double what they're paying right now. In addition to that, home affordability is at an all-time high. So people who currently own a home and think about possibly wanting to buy a new one, well, they're looking at, yeah, you may get a lot for your house, but you're also going to wind up paying a lot for that new house. So the trade-off isn't necessarily a good move for them. The most concerning scenario is that current homeowners in this survey, in fact, 85% of them, are worried that they're going to have to accept a lowball offer on their house. As we shift into more of a buyer's market, especially more so than we've seen in the last 5 years, yes, we do talk about the fact that buyers are seeing more opportunity to negotiate on price. There's, yes, still fewer homes on the market, but there's also less buyers that are hitting the market as affordability continues to rise. And so homes aren't selling as quickly as they did over the last 5 years. The longer they sit on the market, well, the more likely a buyer is going to think either there's something wrong with it and or they look at the possibility, well, they haven't sold it yet. Why don't we offer them something less? And I got to be honest with the sellers, yes, there is that possibility there that you're going to wind up having to take a lower offer than you want. Hopefully it's not a lowball offer. The idea would be to get with a realtor who is going to talk to you about what's the proper pricing for your house based on current market and market conditions for your area. And if you price it at the right price point, then the likelihood of getting a lowball offer is much less. If, however, you have this idea that you're going to get this astronomical amount of money for your house and it's way over the market conditions for your area, then yes, it's likely going to sit there because buyers have the opportunity to be more picky nowadays. So they're likely going to make a much lower offer than you want. And as it turns out, that may be the only offer that you get. According to the survey, the single most difficult part of selling the home is getting the home ready for sale. In fact, 20% of those who were surveyed believe that to be true. And yes, there is sometimes some difficulty in getting your home ready for sale. Now, my recommendation is, depending on how far in advance you're thinking of selling your house, start to get ready now. If you're thinking maybe later in 2025 is the best time to sell your house or the most convenient time for you, there's nothing wrong with starting here in the beginning part of the year and start to do things that get your house ready so that you're not trying to jam all of it into a short amount of time. For those of you who have to sell quickly or sell in the next month or two, well, sorry to tell you, yes, you're probably going to be in for a bit of stress when it comes to getting your house ready to sell. But if you have time to slow roll it, to start putting things away. Heck, as we slowly get out of winter, now's the time to start packing up those winter clothes, putting them in boxes or containers because you're not going to need them until later in the year. And hopefully you're going to have the home sold before you're going to need those things to come back out. So start packing early. Look around the house. Think about what kind of small repairs you can make that may cost some money, but ideally not a lot of money. Paint. Yes, it can be expensive depending on how much you need to paint, but in the overall scheme of things, paint is cheap and it makes your house look better and brighter, of course, depending on the colors that you choose, but get that stuff started now. I'd even recommend getting your home inspected. Yes, it's going to cost you several $100s to do that, but at least you'll know what things need to be addressed before you get your house put on the market. And maybe you'll find that there isn't and that, relieves your stress. Who knows? But I would recommend getting the house inspected. Definitely talk to a professional realtor who can come in, give you suggestions on what things need to be addressed before you get your house ready to sell. Speaking of inspections, according to that survey, 58% of homeowners are worried that a home inspection is going to reveal things that are wrong with their house. That is a legit concern. That's why I recommend that the homeowner have an inspection themselves. Because when or if an inspection determines that there's something wrong with your house that needs to be addressed, you can address it now before you put it on the market, because it's very likely it's going to cost you more in the end if you wait for a buyer to come in and ask you to repair that, ask you to bring down the price of the house, ask you to make some sort of concessions towards their closing costs. Who knows? Get it addressed now. Heck, there might be some things on there that you can address yourselves. Maybe you're a professional contractor or know someone who is. Maybe you have a friend who's a plumber or an electrician that can come in and help you out for, I don't know, case of beer, a couple $100. Probably going to be cheaper than hiring whomever the buyer wants you to hire later on to get those things fixed. One of the biggest concerns on this survey from these homeowners was the concern about how quickly they're going to have to get out of the house after they sell it. In fact, 55% of those in the survey are worried about how quickly they're going to need to move out of the house after they sell. And yes, this can be a legit concern, but it's also a negotiable item. As the homeowner, I consider homeowners to be in the driver's seat when it comes to requesting possession or requesting possession of the house. How long can you stay? All right. Obviously, there's going to be some sort of a move happening for the homeowner. Now, whether they're moving into an apartment, whether they're moving into a new house, maybe they're moving out of state, who knows? Depending on that is what you negotiate for possession with the buyer after closing. So understand that as the homeowner, you don't have 100% control over that, but in my opinion, you're in the driver's seat to kind of direct that into a situation that works best for you. Along those same lines, 46% of homeowners are worried that their home will sit on the market for too long. Now that's a legit concern, as we have seen in 2025, days on market is continuing to extend farther and farther out. Now, Here we are entering the spring season and going into summer, and that's usually the peak time for real estate. So we're probably going to see the days on market drop off a little bit. Unfortunately, the pandemic ruined everybody's idea of how real estate has been traditionally done. Prior to the pandemic, it was not unusual for a home to sit on the market for 3 to 6 months, heck, maybe even longer in some cases. And it would give buyers a chance to come in and see the home several times and really think about whether or not they wanted to make that decision. Then the pandemic came, homes were selling within minutes or hours of going on the market, and for well over asking price, that just became the norm. And since then, it wasn't unusual for days on market to be single digits in most places. Now we've seen it extend into double digits. Now we're seeing that homes are sitting on the market for several weeks, maybe even a month or 2 or 3, and that's becoming more and more typical. Well, what that means is we're going back to maybe more of a traditional, the way real estate market used to be. So for homeowners who are concerned about homes sitting on the market too long, unfortunately, we live in a what have you done for me lately world, in that homeowners only know what they have seen in the last few years. It's become, like I said, the norm in the real estate world. But understand that that's not how real estate in the history of real estate has traditionally worked. So pricing it well, that means working with a realtor who's going to give you a suggestion and guidance on how to price your house based on your market and your market conditions, making sure your home is in good shape so that it appeals to more and more buyers. Those key things can help to ensure that your home isn't sitting on the market for too terribly long. Now, the last factor I'm going to talk about is one that no one really has control over, and the words I might say as encouragement here really may not hold a lot of weight. Before I let you go, if you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, hit that subscribe button, drop me a comment if you're a homeowner, and maybe what is it about moving that stresses you out the most. I'm looking for some feedback on that. So the last one I want to touch on is emotions. Now, the emotions of selling a home can be very strong. In fact, 45% of those who were surveyed said they would feel bad about leaving their home. And honestly, there is nothing that I can say or do to alleviate that emotion. Those who live in their homes, especially those who live in their homes for a long time, definitely have ownership of that house. They've put their blood, sweat, and tears into the house over the years. Moments in their lives that are monumental have taken place. Birth of their children, the growth of their children over time. Maybe people got married and this was their first house. Maybe it's an older couple who are now empty nesters and they're ready to move on, but their kids grew up in that house. They lived there forever. There are so many emotions that come with a house that, yes, I can completely understand how it would be emotional and make people sad to move away from a house that they have had for a while. Again, nothing I say or do is going to change that, but I would just say maybe look at what you're going into. Ideally, you're moving to be in a better situation, maybe to be closer to family and friends who live far away or live on the other side of town or wherever they might be. Maybe you're getting out of a situation where the home is unaffordable and now you're going to be in something that's going to make you be more comfortable on a yearly and daily basis. Who knows? But there's a reason you're moving. Find the silver lining in why you're moving and focus on that. Preserve the memories that you have from the home that you've lived in for a while, but look forward with optimism to a new start in a new place. Once again, do me a favor, drop me a comment on what it is that stresses you out most about selling your home. Thanks for watching.